All right, word problems with equations. Here's an example that you will see on your quiz where you have a word problem and you need to write down the equation for it using the data and then answer the question in the end using your equation. So for example, a battery with 20% of its full capacity is connected to a charger. Every minute that passes, an additional 5% of its capacity is charged. Now, how much charge will there be in 10 minutes? We have several things. We have this 20%, and that is how much your battery is already charged. And then we have 5, and it's percent per minute because it says every minute. So remember, back in the day when we were talking about unit rates, we would say that this would be 5, and it would be percent per minute. That is our rate, and that will be what our variable will be multiplied by. And our variable is minutes. So I can use M for minutes. Then, how can I write my equation? I'm going to say charge, C, and that charge will be, we already started at 20, and then plus 5 times M, where M, I could put any number. So for example, if I were to figure out how much charge I have in 5 minutes, then I would put 5 in here, and then my charge would be, I already have 20% to start with, and then plus 5 times 5, so that's going to be 20 plus 25. So in 5 minutes after charging, my battery life will be 45, or battery charge would be 45%. So what we did is we created this equation right here, which will allow us to figure out the charge at any moment in time. The question in the problem is how much charge will we have in 10 minutes? So then C equals 20 plus our rate 5, and then times 10, which is our variable, and its given value of 10. So we have this dangerous fellow who likes to go rock climbing, and he starts 20 meters below the edge of the volcano. So if you remember when we were talking about positive and negative numbers, when we talked about any level below, below would be there. So at 20 meters below, so we consider negative to be below. So that's where this person, Zane, started. And then he starts climbing up. He hears some rumbling and starts climbing out to safety. And his rate is 4 meters each second. So I could say this as 4 meters per second, kind of like the speed of his climbing. We need to figure out where or how far from the edge of the volcano he will be in 2 seconds. So we'll start with L for his location, or I can say height, whichever, or level for L, and it's going to be the function of seconds, because he is climbing every second. What letters you use for your equation and for your variables is up to you, as long as they make sense. So level, as it depends on seconds, we start at a negative level of negative 20 meters, and then 4 meters every second. So this is our expression, and that is the first part of the problem, of solving the problem. We created this, and then we can figure out where this person is at any second. So they want to know how far from the edge he is in 2 seconds. So then I'm going to say level will be, he started at negative 20 plus 4, and then times 2. That's going to be negative 20 plus 8, and that will be negative 12. So in 2 seconds, the person is somewhere here at negative 12 meters. So we have Amir, who drove from Jerusalem down to the lowest place on earth, the Dead Sea, and he's descending at a rate of 12 meters. Now look at this. He is descending at a rate of 12 meters per minute. If he started 360 above the sea level, So remember, above is positive, so he's going from somewhere here. So he is 360 meters above the sea level, and he starts going down at 12 meters per minute. So since he's going down, I'm going to write my, again, I'm going to say height, and it's how it changes every minute. So I'm going to say h of m, and then 360 is where he started. And then I'm going to subtract from it because he's going down, minus 12, and times m for minute. And so the question is, where was he in half an hour? So that would be in 30 minutes. So what is his height after 30 minutes of going down? Well, that's going to be 360 minus 12 times 30. Now, what is 12 times 3? That's 36. And the 0 comes from there. So it's going to be 360 minus 360. So he will be at 0 level. He will be exactly at sea level. So sea level, that's where he is in 30 minutes. What if they wanted to know where the person is in 40 minutes? Well, it would be the same thing, only we would use h of 40. So that's going to be 360 minus 12 times 40. 12 times 4 is 48. And then extra 0 goes here. So that's going to be 360 minus 480. That's negative 120. So the person would be somewhere down there in 40 minutes. So there you go. First, we create the equation, and then we can use that equation to solve our problem. Now, one more. So we have Carl, who is driving a truck delivering some kind of shipments. That is how much fuel he has when he starts driving. And then the rate at which the fuel is used is 0.2 gallons for each mile. And he's losing it, he's using it up. So I'm going to say F for fuel of miles. So then 100 gallons is our starting, and then minus 0.2, and I can say mi for miles. So then here they want to know how much fuel he will have after driving 100 miles. So, well, 100, that's how many gallons he had to begin with, minus 0.2, that is how many gallons every mile he's using, 0.2, so 1/5 of a gallon. So he has driven for 100 miles. So this would be, I'm going to chip off 1 0 because it's 0.2 times 100, so that's going to be 20. So 100 minus 20, that's going to be 80 gallons. One more time. They asked us to create the equation. That's our equation. We started with 100, then we used the rate, and then times our variable. The variable right there. That's our variable. How many miles he's going to drive can differ. But no matter how many miles he drives, we can always figure out how much fuel he still has left. If we multiply this 0.2, which is our rate, gallons per mile, times the number of miles. So we created the equation, plugged in the number for miles, which was 100, and figured out how many gallons of fuel the person has left. That is how you solve word problems. You think that through, you look at your data, you figure out what the equation would be, and then use the number, plug it into the equation, and that equation will give you the answer to the problem.